Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Wednesday evening. It's 26th of Feb, something like that. And I'm stood outside the North Warwickshire Borough Council, where it has been the meeting where we set the budget and also where we set the council tax for next year. And I've got some good news. So, headline figure that will almost certainly come out is the fact that your council tax is made up of three different sections. If you're in Warwickshire, there'll be the bit from the county council, there'll be from the borough council, and there'll be the bit from the parish council. The bit from county council, I think, will be going up by 4.4%. I think your parish council in Water will be going up by 3.7%, something like that. But your borough council, 0.0%. If there is any alteration in the figure, it'll be because there's slight alterations in terms of the number of houses and the rateable values and things. But generally, it's been set to be 0.00. So that's your headline. So you might think, is that, well, that where the savings come? What's the services being cut? In actual fact, the amount of spend that's going up, it'll be going up. So there's been a certain amount of consolidation of reserves and things that have not been spent, and increasing rentable value. I'm not really red, it's just that someone's reversing and breaking. And yeah, so that's allowed for an increase in various spending. Now, as a North Warwickshire Independent representatives, we proposed a number of amendments to the budget in relation to spending. One of these was around sustainability. So it's been mentioned that the sustainability action plan that's going to be coming in, but it wasn't necessarily going to be funded. We want to see that particularly around aspects of, addressing climate change, but also the impacts of climate change as well. So things that are particularly relevant to our little community in relation to flooding and flood risk and the impact of that. So we proposed an amendment for increasing to allow for some spending there. We also look to increase spending, creation of a community seed fund to enable small grants to be issued to voluntary and community organisations to underwrite them running events that will potentially raise further funds. So as I supported the library and underwrote the cost of their first afternoon tea, and also giving confidence to the carnival to run their Santa sleigh run, it wasn't needed, but just to say, we'll make sure that you don't lose money by running these kind of things. And both turned out to be incredibly profitable and, give something to the community as well. So that a fund in relation to that. We also sought to see money go to Piccadilly Community Association. You might say, well, why is Water interested in that? Well, they're the body that has been supporting the SMZ, the Special Management Zone, which is our response to HS2, and they've been hosting those meetings and taking the cost, and we just wanted to acknowledge that. Also, a emergency fund relating to school attendance. So schools can make an application if there's something that is stopping a child attending school that's due to, a piece of kit, shoes or whatever, that they can do that, and it's the immediacy kind of aspect. So we're asking for motions there, and also a fund that would be match funded for parish councils to have a flagpole in their area, so that flags can be displayed, but in a proper way, in a respectful way, and in a way that is inclusive, rather than using our flag as a divisive symbol, which, let's be frank, is it not necessarily the case in every case, but it is in some, and we need to take steps around that to see that actually the flag is used, and it is a flag of unifying, where the people can come around it, and that should there be matters of national importance, they can be flown at half mast, or they can be or whatever. So these those steps were taken. Now the Conservatives put forward their amendments, which let's face it, they found all this money and they are investing it quite significantly within the borough. I think we are moving towards an election footing for them. There's thought that elections might be postponed, might have been risen there, and there's a lot of money going forward. We received assurances that all of the aspects that we wanted money being put towards, that they will be met from somewhere within that, and that relations to extra actions of the Sustainability Action Group around environment can be will be looked upon favourably during the course of next year. There are matters that they've talked around, the provision of pump tracks, and what I detailed that actually there might be areas that need things for youth engagement where a pump track isn't necessarily acceptable. People might ask for them, but there's other options out there, that might be better, and more appropriate. So we've got discussions there. So there's a lot of devil in the detail, but we've worked very closely. We had a very constructive meeting during the adjournment, and while we would like there to be greater transparency around this, and we didn't get to see what was proposed until actually in the meeting, we forwarded our amendments as quickly as we could, albeit that was only a few hours before the meeting, but that's more notice than well, let's face it, county council didn't even get to see what occasionally I understand. But anyway, we put forward that, and and we think that there's an open dialogue now, so I can really actively fight for Water Orton, and my North Warwickshire Independent representatives can fight for Polesworth. In terms of areas of concern, is that I think that an awful lot of this money is to try and resource the local plan rewrite to go through there. We will need to be aware, and we will need to be making representations to see that the green belt surrounding Water Orton and that the identity of our village is maintained. Now that's going to come a lot down to the residents of the village to make representations at the right possible time, but I will lead you through that, or I will try and keep you informed on that. However, so that's the headlines in terms of that. Also then, there was a motion that we brought from North Warwickshire Independent representatives around council tax. Martin Lewis has been at the forefront of seeing that where councils can charge everyone for their full council tax should they miss a payment, also that we're enshrining what we already do at North Warwickshire, which is a much more conciliatory and supportive mechanism, but enshrining that, we got cross-party support. Again, we forward our motions on the earliest opportunity, we invite comments, we try and build consensus outside of the chamber, and so that was a really nice discussion and debate around that, and we got a unanimous vote for it. We accepted an amendment, friendly amendment, that talked about reporting there. Also is that I seconded that motion, proud to do so, and I made the point that it wasn't just about letting people off council tax, but where people engage they got the support, but where people try to be frivolous and take advantage of the system and not meet their responsibilities, that it enables enforcement action to be taken strongly and robustly, because everyone needs to be paying their share where they can. So that's everything from me tonight. Hope you're well. Hope the village stays as traffic free as it possibly can for the last few days of the closure of the 446, but I'll speak to you soon. Take care. Bye bye.